Welcome to Good Life. I'm Dean Wilson. I'm so glad you're with us wherever you are. If you're joining us on the airwaves here in Santa Barbara, California at TVSB, we welcome you. And of course, so many of you are finding us from all over the world at goodlifetelevision.org, at our YouTube channel, all the social media platforms. And now there's a podcast over the last few months, and it's been really well received. There's a podcast called Good Life Conversations. So if you are a podcast type of person, you can put that on. You can listen to some great interviews. Everyone's different. Every time it kind of blows my mind. These people doing great things, these great hearts, great stories, journeys, overcoming, entrepreneurial spirit. We've had young people, first generation college students. It's just been one after another, public servants, athletes, famous people, not famous people. It's been just been such a great mix. And so hope you'll check it all out. You can find all the long form interviews at both our website, goodlifetelevision.org, and at the YouTube channel. And then we break those long form interviews into what we call power clips. So if you just have a few minutes and you want to kind of get a sense of what the interview is about, you can also check those out. But we'd love to have you do that. We're so grateful that you're with us, and we're always talking about the good stuff. So thanks for joining us. Heather Johnson is my guest today. Welcome.
Thank you.
I was reading about this last night. I'll give a quick background. So Heather's done massage, and she's invented things related to massage and kind of been in that world. And then she's the founder of something called Palliative Puffs, which I think is such a great idea. We're going to get into that in a minute. Palliative Puffs. Palliative was kind of a new word for me. We were just talking about what it means, so I know what it means now. But if you want to go to the website, it's Palliative Puffs, but that's Palliative Puffs, Puffs, .org. So palliativepuffs.org. We're going to get to that in a second, but let's kind of start with you in terms of your upbringing, kind of where you came from. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh gosh, the whole story?
As much as you want.
Well, I was born in Canada.
Okay.
Became a naturalized citizen when I was 12 in 1972, and been living in California since 1972. But I grew up mostly being a designer, a graphic designer.
Oh.
And then 15 years ago, I got into massage and started doing massage for palliative care and hospice and end of life.
Okay.
So that's actually my love, is doing. I love old people.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're like so much fun, and I love that type of care.
Right. So I didn't even know there was such a thing in terms of the massage part of palliative care, but that's something that happens.
Yes. And, people a lot of times are afraid to touch people who are old or sick or suffering, but that's the thing they need the most. So, and when you give somebody a massage, and it's a very light massage and very fluid, it releases the endorphins and the natural painkillers that our bodies naturally make. So sometimes people who are on morphine, but they still have pain, after a massage, they'll say they don't have any pain.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, babies, newborn babies who are held, premature babies who are held more than not, they develop and grow and flourish much more just by being held and touched.
Right.
So the touch is
very,
very
deal.
important.
Yeah.
And then also with end of life massage, just having somebody there sitting and just being there. I mean, not even talking. A lot of times if family come and they want to visit and then they leave, sometimes just sitting there and not saying anything. I'll be giving a massage, and 15 minutes into the massage where there's no talking, they'll just say something to me like, there was this 80-year-old woman who had been married 50 years. She says, I was married once before. And I was thinking, really? No, but she's kind of getting it off her chest. It was an abusive relationship, and she doesn't like to talk about it. But sometimes they'll say stuff to you as a trusted, anonymous person that, gets things off their chest.
Wow.
So just being there. And that's one of the reasons why I started the Palliative Puffs, because, I wasn't allowed to massage when COVID started. And it was breaking my heart that I wasn't able to go in and help these people. I mean, not only could they not have me come in, but they couldn't have their families come in.
Right.
So I made these puffs special so that something really special has some weight that they can hold that's made special for them, high quality.
Yeah, right. Where, I mean, so where I was going to ask you where you got the idea. Like,
that was actually it. They were kind of silly at first. I was just sending them to people who said their loved one was by themselves, but then you start making them like, oh, I'm gonna make this really cool, and it just kind of got better. And I thought, you know what, everybody's that needs these has got to have these,
right?
Especially since I wasn't able to massage. I'm still not able to massage even now.
Really?
Because I'm not vaccinated, so I'm not allowed to.
That's crazy.
So I'm.
But you're doing this.
Putting my focus on.
Yeah. I first of all, I love the scripture that you include in your stuff. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. And you mentioned the power of touch, which is one thing, and the power of presence.
Yeah.
There's something really sacred almost, I think, about this end of life experience. That there's something powerful, sacred, that I don't even know if you can describe. But talk about being in that room. Not many people get to have your experience. Very few, where you're actually in the room with this person who's coming to tell us what that's kind of like.
It's so funny when people ask me that, and any person you talk to that works in palliative care or hospice care, their faces will light up because it's so beautiful. Death is like birth. And being with somebody, I think it's one of the things I love about it. Nobody's fake when they're near death.
Right.
They're really real. They talk about real things. They don't flash their watches, and they don't want you to look at. It's just real, and what they say is important and real, and it's really an honor to be with somebody at this beautiful time of their life. I know that sounds really weird, but it's really an honor, and it's really an honor.
Yeah, it's a powerful thing.
It's very powerful.
I mean, especially, if you're thinking about, if you have faith, which I know you do. I mean, if you're operating from a faith perspective, then this is the finish line. And this is like the victory. I mean, this race, I don't know how you feel. The race on earth can feel long sometimes. I mean, especially when there's suffering involved. I mean, it can feel like, good grief. When you're you can almost taste the victory. I mean, you're that close. I mean, when you say that sticks out to me. It's like a birth.
Sometimes I'm kind of jealous. It's like,
right.
I feel like, wow, their family's here, and most of them are pretty wonderful.
Yeah.
But you know what? Actually, my work in hospice, I haven't always been Christian. I was atheist my whole life.
Really?
Yeah. That's another whole long story.
Well, tell me what happened.
How much time do you have?
It's my show.
You know what? I have seen things. I was always a huge skeptic. I'm very science-based, and it's so funny. I feel so silly saying that now, because now I understand what's going on. But for instance, can I just tell you a story?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would do volunteer at this house called the House of Hope in Thousand Oaks. And it was a house that will have people who are end of life who don't have family to take care of them, and they don't have money to go to assisted living. So instead of them dying alone at home or in a facility where people might not even notice they've died for a little while, this is a house that they can stay there for free. And it's like a home. It's like they live in a bedroom. There's a table where they can come out to eat. I mean, this place was magical, absolutely magical. And the people that lived there were amazing. But anyway, there was this one lady that was, near end, but she loved to cook. She was an Italian cook. So she used to love to cook in the kitchen for the other people. But anyway, there was, in one of the rooms, there was this man who used to shovel hay and worked in a stable. He was a stable boy when he was younger, and he was a character. But anyway, he passed, and about 4 days later, a woman came into the room, because people usually in hospice, it's usually within 3 months that they pass. So the rooms are rotating. So this other woman came in, and she was much, much nearer the end at that point. She had a little bit of dementia, but she said to one of the caregivers there, "Can you tell that man to not make a mess in the room?" And one thing that people do see things that we don't see.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to think it was just fantasy or the brain chemicals making hallucinations. It's not. I used to think that. So anyway, she asked him to, to just stop making such a mess. And the caregiver says, "Well, what's he doing?" And she said, he's shoveling hay. And she was like, "Oh, what's his name?" And she said his name.
Oh,
I mean, I just got
my
goosebumps. I mean, it's
gosh.
like, this is not coincidence. And so now I'm realizing, okay, there is something
Right.
it's something, but lots of things like that would happen. Like, just people seeing people that have passed and telling us about them. And one time, this is a story in my actual massage room. I think at this time I was doing some very heavy, emotionally heavy hospice work at that time. I was massaging someone, and at the very end, I was massaging her scalp. So she's laying here looking face up. I'm massaging her scalp at the very end, and all of a sudden I saw somebody standing there, like about where you're sitting. He was standing, and he was just looking down at her. And I kind of jumped, and I'm like, and then he went away. And I thought, oh, that was kind of weird. I mean, I saw this man with a hat, a coat, looking down at her. It wasn't scary or anything. He was just looking at her. And then after she's finished, I said, "You're all done." I stood up. She's laying up there looking at me, and she says, "I have a question." She goes, "Do you ever have any visitors?" And she looked right where that man was standing. And I said, I didn't want to lead her. I'm like, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "Visitors." And I go, "Was he standing right there?" And she goes, "Yes." We saw the same guy standing there.
What in the
So
world?
I know. And so, me being, there's always a reason, that flash of light, this, that, there's always
Right.
a reason for it. It's hallucinations. It's like, this is real. So
Did
anyway,
what are the odds of two people hallucinating at the same time and seeing the same object?
exactly. And this isn't a story I heard from somebody else. Oh,
Right.
they just made that up, or they just saying that, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's happened to me.
Okay. So what was your faith? I mean, how did you actually decide to come to faith? I mean, was it some of these
Lots
experiences?
of little things. Those experiences made me realize that there was something that we can never understand, and I call it my dog in the pool filter theory, where when I was atheist, my reason for being atheist is the same reason for becoming a Christian. My dog in the pool filter theory is, I was in the backyard, and this was a long time ago, and my dog was walking around the pool, and the pool filter went on. I went, "Arr!" And my dog looked at it, and I thought, there's no way in a million years this dog is going to understand what this pool filter is. And I just thought it was so funny. I'm like, what is going through his head? And I thought, that's like us understanding God or religion, understanding where we came from. And I'm thinking, and then it kind of put in perspective to me of why we can't understand it. A dog's never going to understand what the pool filter is. Even though it's real and it's there, just because he doesn't understand it doesn't mean doesn't exist, and
Right.
it's not reality. It's not a reality we understand, but it's still reality.
Right.
But at the time I'm thinking, well, this is why I made this. We don't understand. And I was thinking, the minute the dog understands what a pool filter is, that is not a world I want to live in. So I think if we can all understand that, it just doesn't,
Right.
it's not going to work. So then later on, I met my husband, who's Christian, very Christian, and I love him to death. And so I would go, I'd gone to some churches. I went to Bible study when I was a child, and the mother there, when I was asking questions, and she says, the devil's making you ask those questions. And I was like, I just wanted to know. I'm just asking questions. And they made me feel like, I'm evil. And so that turned me off to religion.
Yeah.
And then I see people who do bad things and they're religious. But over time I realized, you know what? Now I realize that wasn't God bad. Those are people being bad.
Right.
It's not, you can't connect those two things.
Right.
So that I came into realization, and I would go to church with my husband my boyfriend at the time, for about 2 years, every Sunday. And, it was really nice. People were really nice. They said nice things, but it just wasn't clicking with me. But I'd still go with him because I love him and it's important to him. And I wanted to learn. So over time, I just learned more and more. And then it's sudden, just little things I was learning, my misconceptions. Am I talking too much?
No.
Okay, so the other thing that really made sense to me was one of my things was the whole if enough chances happen, like with the Big Bang Theory, that kind of, if there's enough time and enough chances, eventually life would happen. I believed that, and the more I learned about real science, that the chance. Have you heard of Hugh Ross, the astrophysicist?
No.
He is religious, and he's an astrophysicist. He was saying that there's not enough chances mathematically to put what life is. Like, the same reason why if you saw a Rolex watch land on the ground and you said, "Oh, that just fell from the sky and it happened by chance." He says, like those are the type of chances we're talking about. And I'm thinking, so, I'm just getting like, I've seen stuff happen. I had misconceptions about science. And coming from an atheist point of view, these are the two things: understanding supernatural stuff happens and understanding the chances. It starts just making you feel like, and then I remember sitting on my couch thinking, just trying to figure stuff out, because now like this whole world's opening up to me. And like, and then you think, well, the Bible, a lot of that is all just people repeating stories and it changing, and all this, and then I learned that a lot of the stuff is real historical. It's like all this real information is being kept from me. They don't teach this stuff in school.
Right.
I feel like such a dope that I wouldn't open my mind and actually learn. But I was sitting on my couch and I was just thinking, I was just trying to understand, and all of a sudden it just literally was like a ping. And I remember my dog in the pool filter. It's like, we can't understand God. He's there. He's real. Everything makes sense. Once I started linking all these pieces together, I realized it's real. I'm getting goosebumps again.
Yes.
But anyway, I actually felt, I didn't feel it. I saw it in the middle of my head. I saw this prism of colors. And it was like in the middle of my head, but I could see it, but not with my eyes. It's kind of hard to explain. But it was like a beautiful click, 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 click inside my head. And I start crying, and then for 2 days, I was so emotional. And I'm just like, it was so funny. It's like all these, like those posters that you see like in the 80s or something, where it's like all these weird little poster colors, and then you're staring at it, and people's like, "Oh, I see the horse."
Right,
I'm like,
right.
I don't see it. And they keep staring, and all of a sudden,
there it is. Yeah.
That's what it was like.
Right.
So, and ever since
Wow.
then, everything I'm learning, everything makes sense. All the pieces, everything makes sense. My hospice work makes sense. Things I saw make sense.
Isn't that
It's
incredible?
like and it's like my anxiety. I start chewing the skin around my fingernails. It's like I just have this calmness. It's like I just get it.
Oh.
But I actually started doing this before I became Christian, I have to tell you.
Did
That's
you really?
what's so funny, because I've loved hospice work. It's just always been in my heart.
Yeah.
And I feel like God's been with me this whole time.
Yeah.
I was so mean to him. I apologized to him every day. My friends tell me, "You've apologized, you believe, you're okay." I'm like, "No, I have to apologize every single day."
Yeah, he's probably over it.
Yeah, he's over it.
Revelation from God's one thing. Like somebody once told me about, this difference between understanding and revelation. We want to strive to understand something that really can't be understood. Sometimes somebody asks, I heard this guy say, somebody was asking me, why did God do that? And the guy's like, he doesn't work for me. I don't know. I work for him. I don't.
Yeah.
Now, and then there's other times where I feel like revelation, like some of what you've experienced, sounds to me like where he's revealed himself. that's a different, like that, to me, that's different than a scramble for understanding something that really can't be totally understood. Revelation saying, he showed me this, or here's something that or if you open the scripture and something where it's like, these aha moments, but revelation, not this striving. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I actually understand that now. It's so funny. I know the old me and I know the new me. And it's so funny because when I had this invention, and it was during the time I'd lost my house. This was back in 2008. It was when I first started doing hospice massage. And I remember, things were really hard. I'd just been divorced, was losing my house, but I had this invention. And I was driving, and it was the first time I ever prayed out loud. I said, God, if you're there, I just need some help. It was just like, I want to believe in you. I want to know you're there. And then I got a phone call literally after I prayed from the director at the hospice I was volunteering for. And she said, Heather, I just want to let you know that the patients just love you. We want you to do more. We want to pay you. And to me, it was kind of like, it's like, oh man, it's like, 'cause I always tell that story. I would tell that story even before I really fully believed in God, but
Wow.
He's been so nice to me.
I've never heard somebody talk like that when you say, he's been so nice to me. That's actually that's a tender way of putting it.
Very gracious.
I love this. This is obviously about far more than, stuffed animals. This is love. This is love. And I love practical, in the scripture when it talks about, the cup of cold water, a shirt for somebody who doesn't have one. Like, it's the little things that are the big things. And this is just such a big thing in terms of love, just a way to love. And God is in the room. I believe that. Yeah. So you've got a real special thing here. Like, it's amazing. Like, you could, I don't know if you do this, but I mean, compiling those end of life stories of what you're experiencing, it could be a cool idea. I don't know if you have like a blog or something, but I would read it. I mean, because it's really powerful. I mean, those victory finish line moments, where somebody's really coming in and that I think, and you have such an opportunity, and this is wonderful. Thank you for what you're doing. I don't know if you can see them on the camera, but they're here, the Palliative Puffs. I'm a big fan. We got one for our house today, so we're good. PallativePuffs.org is the website. Palliative Puffs, and that's PALLIATIVE Puffs, PUFFS.org. Heather Johnson, thank you.
Thank you.
Great to meet you. We'll see you next time.